Is it working now? Okay, it is working now. I wasn't sure. Okay. It, as I said last week, within the first 5 seconds, it wouldn't be an Atom stream without technical difficulties. Um, but lately we've been getting them out of the way in the first like 5 seconds, so that's great. Hopefully this means the rest of the stream is going to go well. Um, yeah, we'll just dive right into it. I don't have much to talk about this week. Let's see what we are going to work on today. So I think what we can do today is we can work on where we left off like a couple weeks ago. So last week we did the developer experience and code coverage stuff. That was a ton of fun. But before that, we started working on the task list UI. Um, and I want to keep working on that today. So we'll see. Maybe we'll like finalize the UI, set up like a task list screen that we can work with, and then maybe start to move towards like the data layer or something like that. Those are my rough ideas of where I want to go today. So let's talk about that. Let's talk about where we left off or what I want to do first, actually, because there's some interesting stuff here. Let's close all of these. So just to do a quick recap, like I like to do, um, let's go to our task list. So well, all right, so it looks like we have a task list content already, which, if you're unfamiliar with my sort of naming convention, is like this is effectively what appears inside the task list screen. Um, but it's stateless in the sense that like we give it a task list view state and it knows how to render everything. Hydrate. Cheers. We'll be hydrating with a smoothie that Megan made me tonight. Oh, and I owe you 2 sips. It is a spinach, mango, and pineapple smoothie. Um, yeah, so we've got our task list content. Basically, all we have at this moment is we show like the loaded tasks state. This is a typo. That should not be content. That should be content. Um, but let's build and refresh so we can see what this looks like, and then I'll show y'all the interesting scenario that I want to resolve at the start of the screen, which I don't think that's true. I think Prince has made smoothies before, but I'm not a big smoothie person, so if he did and I don't remember it, that's more of a me problem than a him problem. Um, we're waiting on the Gradle build. I want to show y'all the problem that we're going to start this stream by fixing. Um, and then it should only take like 5 to 10 minutes. But if you remember, if you were here for the Material 3 stream, one of the problems we ran into a couple times is not every component that we use has been ported over to the Material 3 artifact yet. And that causes some issues in terms of styling, because when we use a Material 3 theme, that only gets applied to the components that are also using Material 3. This isn't showing anything at all. That's fun. Um, let's try this preview. But one of those problems is within our task list screen, where we use like card views. Well, not views. We use cards. And cards are one of those components that is not yet ported over into Material 3. So what you're going to see, if my IDE ever catches up to what I'm trying to say, is that we see white cards in light mode and dark mode. And nothing is working. None of our previews are rendering. It wouldn't be an Atom stream without technical difficulties. Let's do a rebuild project and see what happens here. But so the first thing I want to do is look at our task list content, figure out what components are still stuck on the old material design, and find a way to port them over. Uh, in the meantime, to support Material 3 without waiting for the library to catch up. if that makes sense. So once I get this working and I can show y'all what I mean, we'll do that. Let's switch to a new branch for now. We're going to keep using this issue right here, number 10 for task list UI. So let's do TOA 10, task list material 3. Um, and hopefully it looks like the build is running now. Are they going to keep both material 2 and 3, or will they drop 2? That's a good question. Um, I don't think they'll drop 2. Um, that's just a hunch, though. I feel like they won't enforce people to upgrade. Um, I would think that they'd get to a point where the two of them have the same capabilities, if not, say, more capabilities in Material 3. But one thing, I'll be honest, I'm a little worried about what that means sort of for like dependencies. So I need to look at the dependency graph, but a problem we've had before is that this project has both material packages in it. So when I use things, I have to be very careful about the imports that I use. And I don't like that. And so I'm hoping that it's at least resolved to some point where I can be explicit about which dependency I want to import into the project so that I don't have to worry about like having both side by side. Um, and maybe there's a solution to that now and I just didn't spend enough time on it, but that is like something I'm worried about, if that makes sense. All right, our Gradle build finished. So hopefully in a couple seconds, y'all can see what I was going on and on about. And I already have a solution to most of the problems that we've seen here. Um, but I want to show y'all the problem as it stands before I show y'all the solution. I think that's always a really important thing. Uh, we'll see. Aha! Here we go. So you can see on the right, if you can read these headers. So we have night mode up here, day mode down here, and you can notice some things are different, actually. So if you notice the buttons, the button text works because we must be using, so this button text is actually really hard to read. It looks almost white, but we knew that. Um, but that is a different color. But the card is not. And so if you weren't here for the Material 3 um, stream, let me recap why this is. So to explain why this bug happens when you're adding, and I think this is really good if you're adding Material 3 for everyone to sort of be aware of this at the moment, at least Material 3 and Compose, is let's start at the root level here. So we have this TOA theme, right? And this calls the material theme that's in the Material 3 package. And in Material 3, they use something called a color scheme, which is different from just colors, which we saw in the old material. Knowing that piece of information, let's dive into why our card view doesn't work. So if we look at task lists here, we'll have to kind of click through, but we have task list item, and that uses a component called a card. And if I click on this, we can see from the sort of words, from the default arguments, we can see it uses material theme dot colors. And if we were to hover over this, we can even see via the package name, it's using the old material packet, well, old material package. And so because our app never defines that, it's just using the default. And the default is like a light theme. And so that's why we see white as like the default color for a card. So how do we fix this? Well, there's a couple options really. One is since card has all these properties on it, we could, if we wanted to, just call that ourselves. So like here, on the card, I could say color is material theme dot color scheme dot surface or whatever. Um, and I can make sure this is like the material 3 version. Is it background color? Is that what it's actually called? Yeah. This is one way that we could solve this problem. But what I've found helpful in a couple other pet projects where I've tried to implement Material 3 in Compose is what I'm going to do is I'm going to take this card definition and let's talk about what's in it. So we have a card, and what this really is at the end of the day is it's a surface. And we have a Material 3 surface that we can use. So I'm going to steal all of this code, and I'm going to make my own composable called a Material 3 card, and then override all the properties right here that I care about. So let's do that real quick. Let's go into our core package, UI, components. Let's put it there. And let's make a new file here, and let's call this Material 3 card. And so what I'm going to do is I'm going to paste what we already had, Material 3 card. And for each of these properties, where I can, I'm going to replace them with their Material 3 counterpart. So let's get rid of those dependencies. And let's start here. For this one, we'll do material theme.color scheme.surface. And then we can also use content color 4 in material 3. And if you're unfamiliar with this function, basically what this does is it says, if our background is surface, the content color is on surface. But if we do, say, background, the content color is on background, and so on. You may have seen that like primary on primary, secondary on secondary sort of syntax throughout material design. But one thing to note here is that shapes aren't yet in material 3. So this particular parameter does pose a problem. What I'm going to do is I'm just going to say for like this example, I'm just going to use the old shapes because in my app right now, I'm unlikely to override this and I'm fine with it being the default. But if I want to, I technically could override this parameter. And then for surface, when we import it, we also want to make sure this is the material 3 surface. And this will give us one other issue because elevation is not the same in material 3. Let's dive into what the actual solution to that is. So if we look at the documentation for a surface, material 3, there's a lot here. But I want to talk about these. There's 2 elevations that are used in material 3. So one is tonal elevation, which says like the elevation results in sort of a darker color or lighter color based on what's being used. And then shadow elevation is the actual like size of a shadow. But it does say here, only apply shadow elevation when absolutely necessary, such as when the surface requires visual separation from a patterned background. So since we're not really doing something like that, I think what we could say here is that our elevation should be tonal elevation. And so now we've basically taken the material 2 card, we've copied it, and we've replaced a bunch of the parameters with the material 3 version. Now again, we're hoping that the day will come that the material 3 library just has this out of the box, and I'm sure that cards are on their roadmap, but they're not there yet. And to unblock me and to have something that still looks nice for my app, we're going to do this. And for anyone who's trying to use Material 3 like right now, you might also have to consider doing this. But now, and let me make sure that I didn't do all of that for nothing. I want to make sure that there's not a Material 3 card, but last time I checked, there definitely was not. Yeah, it looks like the only option is compose.material. So let's replace this with material 3 card. And now let's do a build and refresh. And let's go back to our task list. And once the build is done, Um, is it running? Once this preview refreshes, then we should actually see a light and dark theme version of this card. At least that is my hope. And we'll just have to wait to find out. Let me know if any of y'all have questions about any of that. Nice. Okay. And so now we can see we do have cards that are light and dark mode. They're a little jumpy because Android Studio is weird, but they're working. And now it's even more obvious that this like text color is different. So let me zoom in on one of these just so y'all can see what it actually looks like. Um, but yeah, that's nice. That's working. So let's go back to task list content. Um, it looks like we've got a similar problem over here still. Is it looks like it's specifically around the background. It looks like the background is still light no matter what. Um, so let's figure out why that is. Ah, I have a hunch. Um, I'm pretty sure that this scaffold dependency is still the old material. Why can't I find it? Yes. Oh, we're using the accompanist scaffold here. I don't think I want that. Um, I want this to be material 3 scaffold. Now it's going to be annoying as I think this is experimental. Um, it is. So, that's fine. Let's just throw in like an opt-in just to satisfy the compiler. And because we're already using a bunch of experimental stuff in general, so now let's refresh this. And also, I can run this on a physical device, I think, so we can try it out. Um, Let me get that ready to show off. Nice. That's looking pretty good. So let's see if we can. Last time I tried to run a preview, I actually had an issue getting it to run, and we'll see if it works now. If not, what I sometimes like to do with my Compose apps is I'll just hard code like an entry point to this composable via like the activity or something. Um, and then I just run the main activity. But I'm hoping that I can run it on my actual phone here. We'll give the IDE a second. But let's go ahead and also we can commit this code while we're waiting. Um, Moving task list content to material 3. I'm also noticing some of y'all may have caught this, and I'm surprised this is a thing. Or I didn't know they would be pushing this, but the floating action button on this screen, why are the previews so jumpy today? Maybe my computer's just overwhelmed. It happens. But the floating action button over here is like cut off. It's not a pure circle. Why doesn't nothing work? Um, I want to zoom in on that floating action button so y'all can see what I'm talking about. But nothing wants to work. Is my stream good? Like, is the audio good? Is it just my IDE that's freaking out? It seems like it's just the IDE that's freaking out. Um, okay, I sound fine. Ooh, all right. So let's look at it on the phone. Um, okay, so here is what we get sort of out of the box here with my material 3. So I don't hate it. Um, like I'm fine with this color and everything. Um, but what I'm more concerned about is like that toolbar design at the top. But I'm not I'm not married to that. We could definitely change that toolbar. Um, but this is looking good. We can clearly see the card separated from the background. But yeah, notice how this floating action button is like a rounded rectangle or rounded square instead of like a pure circle. I'm curious how we would change that. Um, I'm gonna check. So this is a Material 3 floating action button. Oh, this is interesting. Let's look at that source code real quick. So this takes, it does have some kind of shape, but it looks like they have these floating action button shapes. So by default, it's primary container shape. Interesting. Where it's rounded corner shape 16 dp. I guess that makes sense. But it looks like this doesn't offer a circle shape out of the box. So the question is, do I want to make it a circle because that's what I'm comfortable with? Or do I use what they're saying the Material 3 version should be? I don't know. Let's add it just for fun. I'm actually pretty sure I can just do circle shape. Um, Technically that should work. I'm also tempted to change my background back to a blue color because I really like blue color schemes a lot better. I could also remove the dynamic uh, flag from my theme and just use like the TOA theme that we've had designed already. Yeah, I think it's just because it's rendering a bunch of previews. There's got to be a faster way. All right, there's the circle fab that we all know and love. So I'm gonna go with that. Nice. All right, this is a start. Let's go with this PR for now. Uh, let's also get our stream history going. Call it task list UI. And we'll update that in a second, but let's get this PR going. And now that we have sort of the content preview that we wanted here, um, we start to build out the sort of architecture for the screen to have it match the same setup as we saw elsewhere where we like used in the login screen. So having like a task list view model, having like the view state be exposed, having like a task list screen, etc., etc. If you don't know what I'm talking about, you'll see it in a second. We're going to build it together. But let's add this first. So adding a material free card and updating the scaffold used on that screen. Um, Design and cool. Create that pull request and we'll have that running. So while that's running, um, I think we had a, let's see. Okay, I called this a home view model. I'm going to rename this task list view model. And let's go build that for now. Um, that is 21. So let's do a new branch. Task list view model. So some of y'all have sort of seen me do this before and you understand sort of my naming conventions, but if you haven't, um, let's see. So the task list view model, this is going to be an Android view model, and we'll say, this class is responsible for um, managing and exposing the UI state of the task list screen. That's what this class is going to do. So the first thing is we'll have like a private state flow, a mutable state flow that has a task list view state. Um, we'll say by default we're loading tasks, right? And then we also want a public view state, which is an immutable state flow, which just returns that sort of that mutable one as an immutable version. And then this will have some code like we need to fetch the tasks and update our UI state accordingly. That will come later. Let's just have this for now. Um, and then its counterpart is actually making a task list screen. So my naming convention for this is a composable. And what I like to do is the task list screen is what consumes a view model, which by default we can just call hilt view model to get like the default a view model scoped to this composable. And then what we do here is we get the view state, collect this state, and then we call our task list content. And so we would say view state will be view state dot value. On reschedule clicked, we'll need to implement that. On done clicked, we'll need to implement that. Um, oh, and then on add button clicked, we'll also implement that in the future. But this should get the screen going for us. Um, yeah, this is enough to get the view model started anyways. Um, how do I test it? Well, let's do some iterative development here. Let's go into our main activity real quick. And we're going to comment out the login screen. And let's do task list screen. Oh, Dan with the subscribe. Thank you so much. I don't know if the alert sound played. It did not play for me. I hope it played for all of you. Um, but I've got audio issues today. Uh, but thank you so much for the subscribe. I really appreciate it. Um, so let's get our task list screen there. And so what I'm going to do now is we're going to run this and we're going to see what shows up on the phone, which, spoiler alert, will actually probably be nothing. And the reason for that being, if we look at our task list content that we saw earlier, we right now we kind of have this hard-coded check, like if we're in the loaded state, we show loaded task content. Um, so we can add, yep, that's what happens. We get an empty screen. Let's add a loading state to this. We can make that part of this PR. So I want to take a look at the login UI that we did before, um, because I think there's a chance for us to um, reuse some code. At least I thought. Yeah, okay. There's a circular progress indicator that we have put in the center of the screen. But this only works when we have like a box uh, to overlay one thing on top of the other. And I was thinking about whether or not we could combine, reuse that box somehow, but I might avoid that for now. Um, but let's start by getting this circular progress indicator on the screen. And actually, we're going to run into the same material 3 problem, and that this progress indicator by default uses material 2. So, all right, let's do the same thing we did earlier, um, which is we're going to take this and, hey Matt, we're going to take this and we're going to build a material 3 version that we can reuse. Let me make sure that there's not one already. I don't think so. Yeah, it's only in the whoops, the last material indicator. Um, you received some errors because of IntelliJ coming program. What's your Android Studio? Good question. Um, I am using Arctic Fox, um, 2020.3.1. I hope. I don't know if that's why it worked. I don't know. Maybe are you using like a more recent version of Android Studio? Like I'm not using a Canary or beta build. I'm pretty sure this is like the most recent stable version of Android Studio. Uh, let's get this over here. So we're gonna do material 3 circular progress indicator. So oops, let's copy this just as a reference. Um, and largely we want to have the same things here. So we'll have a modifier. The color will be material theme dot color scheme dot primary, and then stroke width will be progress indicator defaults dot stroke width, and then import everything. And so then we'll just take this, and this is where we can call the old one with the same thing. Nice. So let's replace that on our login screen while we're here. Um, but let's add this same thing onto our task list screen, task list content. So first, let's start with a box that fills the screen. And then, okay, we can say if view state is task list view state. Loading. Actually, we should probably use like a when statement here. Let's do that. When view state. So is task list view state dot loading. Then we want to do this. Um, if it is task list view state dot loaded, we do this. Um, and then this is yelling at me because I need the error state, but that will come later. All right, now let's run this again and let's see how our progress indicator looks. I changed my screen timeout while I'm testing here. Nice. We see a circular progress indicator that is like the brownish color that matches our background. So this is a good start. Let's commit this. Um, Showing loading on task list screen initially. So we could probably make this its own pull request. I feel like this is a good idea. Um, and then sort of the next pull request could be mocking, actually fetching a list of tasks, which brings up an interesting thing around like use cases that um, we had a whole debate on several weeks ago. I have seen some newer, more interesting approaches to use cases that I've debated trying on here. Um, I'm not sure if I will, but maybe we can talk about it. Uh, Um, I'm not sure how to check if internet is disabled. Uh, yeah, Dan, go for it. Um, will be loaded automatically when the internet is enabled. I don't know how to check. I haven't done that in a while. Um, I actually think that with the work manager library, there's a way to do that, that you can set work manager to like run things in the background. But if you're saying you want your app to listen to network, I don't, there might be a solution, but I don't know it off the top of my head. We'd probably have to Google it. Let me know. But yeah, Dan, go ahead. I will get some pull requests out of the way while you talk about that. Uh, let's view model. Also adds task list screen and uses this in main activity for now. Full of typos. Holding my shift key too long. Um, this can just be an enhancement. And okay, so while this pull request runs, we can go back to this one and close it. Um, then this one will probably yell at me that I can like update. Oh, it's gonna give me conflicts. Let's resolve those. So need to include that import. Um, ah, yeah, we don't do it like this anymore. Whoops. We do this. And that should do it. Yeah, so the interesting thing about use case, oh, here we go. Trying to implement SQLite with multi-modules, but having some issues with the hilts. I don't know where I should open the issue, in Dagger repo or SQLite repo. Interesting. Um, can you tell me what the issue is? Um, it seems like this is a hilt question. If you're trying to share a dependency across modules, it feels like hilt is the core thing that you're working on. Um, but on the other hand, like maybe the SQLite folks can help you understand what it is that you're doing wrong. Like, I could see the SQLite folks maybe benefiting from creating a guide on SQLite and multi-module projects. Um, Got it. It's with the dependency of SQLite. Then I feel like you should open it there and see if they can help you. That would just be my suggestion. Um, yeah. Oof. This failed, but did it fail after I made? Oh, because I need to update stream history because I always forget to do that. So let's do that real quick. What else do we do here? Some more view states. Um, Sample code helps a lot. Uh, if you can walk through what the steps you took to reproduce this issue, that will help them immensely in helping you solve the issue. So I would definitely consider walking them through exactly what you did and providing some like sample code as well, so they can try to reproduce the issue. Okay, so that's the other PR we're working on. And then while we're having this conversation, um, or as we wrap up this conversation, I'll talk about the interesting perspective with use cases that I'm reconsidering. So I just want to make sure there's no other questions on this SQL thing, but there might be. So let's talk about use cases real quick. I'm just gonna kind of keep going. I can go back and forth between these conversations. So we've got this credentials login use case, right? This is an interface. And the main benefit of an interface is so that we can mock or make a fake implementation of this use case inside of our unit tests. And then it has this invoke function that takes some parameters and it returns this login result. This is our concrete implementation. It's this prod credentials login use case that takes in like the login repository, the token repository, and then it does a whole bunch of stuff in here. Um, Yada yada. And but what I thought was interesting is some people talk about maybe this use case is a bad example. Um, Maybe this use case is a bad example of what I was going to talk about because this is a use case that takes in multiple things and actually does a decent bit of logic. So I might not refactor this the way I would in maybe some other use cases where it's strictly like a one-to-one um, relationship with uh, the repository. Um, so let me pull up the article that I was talking about, and maybe this will make more sense. So this is from the same person who wrote the original article for use cases. And they showed the same idea. You take an interface and then you have a class that implements it, and that does the thing. And they talk about how a lot of people complain about the boilerplate code that that creates. And so then I read this, just, I thought this was really interesting. I'll just share this in chat. Maybe all we do is talk about it. But what they do here is they um, show how you can use like functional use cases, where what they do instead of an interface like this, I'm just going to give you the cliff notes, um, is instead they use function types. So here they're saying a function that returns like a single, and then we call this get transaction use case. And then what they made was they made like an inline function right here that returns that return type. And so you've basically eliminated the need for an interface at all, if that makes sense. Um, and you don't technically need type aliases, but it helps a lot. Um, so then when you are like creating the use case, you just kind of use this nice function syntax, and then you don't have the whole like implementation class, etc. Um, I think this is really nice for maybe like some shorter use cases, but I'm thinking an hour is like it's kind of long. We could look at it just to show you like how we would like eliminate some code if we went with a more functional use case. Um, it's just a thought. But then the nice thing is with type aliases here, we could make this change without even having to um, update our view model at all. Because another um, complaint about that original approach to use cases that I've seen, which is valid, is if we look at our login view model, we have this credentials login use case. Um, and then because we use the invoke function, we can call it like this. We basically call it as if it's a function. But so here's the kicker. Here's where this can get confusing. If I'm over here and I want to see, okay, who calls this invoke function? The answer is nobody. And I guess this is actually like an Android Studio bug. Apparently, if you do like dot invoke like this, um, and then I try this again, find usages. Now the IDE can find that usage. But with the more functional approach and where you're actually saying like, hey, call this thing, um, I think like find usages or something like that would work better. I don't know if it's a need to refactor this project. I just wanted to share that fun, interesting tidbit that I learned over the last week talking about use cases. Maybe as we move on into other use cases in the project, we could consider writing it like that. You don't have that issue. Interesting. Does that also happen if you make an object to invoke rather than an interface? Um, it may be because you're not using interfaces, so then you're finding the like class directly. Um, I don't know. Oh god, lots of questions. Okay, chat is popping. So an object that is a functional type. I'm not sure, and I think that's more or less the same functional idea we looked at. So, um, DP pointed out a good post. I think I've seen this before. We're putting comments above and below some code just to utilize code folding in Android Studio. Yeah, some people don't like those because they're just noise outside of your IDE, which is valid. Why use cases with interfaces? That's another good question. And the main reason is the same reason you'd use interfaces everywhere else, is so that when I go to write my tests, I could provide like a fake implementation. I could write like a full integration test that works with like an actual use case. Maybe that's a good thing. But here inside my like the way it works now, um, inside our login view model robot, we have this like fake credentials login use case where we use like a mock of the interface. You could technically make a mock of an actual class, but it's easier to do with interfaces, I find in my experience. Let's do um what we like to do on this channel sometimes is if we have a thought of something we want to explore, let's check out a new branch, let's try it out, and the worst thing that happens is we do like a hard reset and we don't commit this code. But let's try out that other idea. So what I'm gonna do is let's just get rid of this as it is, and let's use a type alias. It's going good learning to code. How are you? Let's use a type alias, credentials login use case. And what this will be is some suspending function that takes in credentials and returns a login result. Now, one other thing I don't like is like this syntax is not beginner friendly to me. Like if you're not familiar with function types, this is not beginner friendly. This, while it's a lot of boilerplate, is a lot more clear and is like standard coding interfaces that people might be familiar with. Do I plan to use cover with some code coverage tool? Maybe eventually. Um, right now, I just have it so I can locally run cover. Um, but I would like to eventually get to a point where I'm actually like saving that code coverage somewhere. Good luck on your interview. That's super exciting. I'm sure you're going to do great. I can't wait to hear all about it. But now we've got this type alias. So one thing that's going to have to change is this class is no longer needs to like implement an interface. We need to uh, write like a function to return this. So let's take all this code out real quick and put it at the top level. And um, I think what we can do here is we could rename this. We could do like inline suspend fun, um, perform credentials login. But one thing is that in addition to needing the credentials, this is going to need login repository and token repository. Settle the nerves. Yeah, hopefully it does. Um, this needs to be suspending now as well. Or wait, no. Why is this yelling at me? Oh, inline functions cannot. Okay, that's fine. We can just make that not inline. Um, but then so now instead of like a use case class, we've got like this one single top level function. Um, and then where that would change is in our use case module. Oh, how does it work with Dagger? I guess I wouldn't use binds anymore. Um, we would need to use provides. Provide credentials login use case. Um, and then this would like take in our repositories. Uh, how did the article do this? They showed a Dagger example of this. Yeah, so they do this provides, takes in the things. Okay, which is credentials login use case. And then, okay, so we return, and then here we can do perform credentials login. Actually, so how do I do this if I have arguments? I just realized that this solution gives me no way to pass credentials into the use case. Or maybe I'm not supposed to? I thought they had an example of this. Um, I don't know. Yeah, I'm a little lost now. Oh, that's what gets passed into this lambda. Um, I missed that. What gets passed into this lambda is the credentials. So, okay. So does this work? Um, if I do like a rebuild, will this work? But I have to say, like, I mean, I guess this is less boilerplate because I no longer have like an interface and a class implementation. And then testing is still very easy, right? Um, because if we look at like our login ViewModel robot now, blah, blah. So instead of this whole fake implementation, because this is a function, I could just do something like this, and I could be like login result dot success, and like I could even remove this. So then my tests are really nice. I basically just have like a lambda that returns what I want. And this is less boilerplate because I now don't have to create like a fake implementation. Eddie's yelling at me though. Missing binding credentials. Um, what am I doing wrong? Did I do provides wrong? Um, oh, I might not have. Wait, repository module. Bind token, bind login repository. Yes. Cheers, tracks. 7:30. I still have another hour. It's injected at. So it's injected here. We're using the at inject constructor. Let's copy this documentation, by the way. Um, so this is right. Provides credentials login use case, returns this. Is this right? Is this... Hilt should know how to provide these because they're defined elsewhere. Um, let's try to read this. It's just such a long message. Um, but it's saying missing binding for like the function type credentials, blah, blah, blah. Do you think it's being picky because I'm not putting suspend here? No, that doesn't seem to be it. Cannot be provided without a provides annotated method. But that's what this does. Okay, let's look at provides in the Hilt documentation and make sure I'm not doing anything wrong here. Um, is not because of credentials lambda? Maybe. Um, okay, so we do module install in. It's an object at provides fun blah blah blah. I'm using the dagger provides. That's the only one I could use, yeah. Try commenting the use case implementation and remove the suspend modifier. Um, I don't know if okay, we could try that. So let's just have it be a non-suspending function here. And then inside the use case module, we'll comment that out and let's just have this always return like success or something. Let's rebuild. So Raphael's suggestion basically rules out if in the article they did not have suspend. But I swear I recreated this with a suspending function and coin and it worked. I don't know, maybe Hilt's being weird. Yeah, maybe it's having a problem resolving it somehow. Um, even though it says, okay, nope, that wasn't the issue. Something else is going on. Um, let's take a look back at their article and see if they, let's follow through their steps to see if I might have missed something. So this is all context that they gave. Okay. Um, maybe it's help because of Java. Um, let's look at their example. So they have this inline function that returns a single, blah blah. Okay, that's fine. The type alias is a function with this return type, which all makes sense. Um, their return is basically the same as ours. Um, and so they show provides repository, transaction repository. Yeah, I'm doing this all the same. Yeah, single is an RxJava thing. If you try making the provide return type function, oh, maybe. But I feel like is this not how it works? I can't find either of those. I guess we're just gonna have to stick with the interface. I know that used to be a thing. It's saying it wants a function one. But why can't I find... Oh, what? Okay, apparently now it wants to work. Alright, let's try that. Um, if this doesn't work, I'm giving up. But yeah, it's entirely possible that there's some sort of interrupt issue going on. Though I was hesitant to expect that because the interrupt is usually pretty good. But maybe that's not quite true in this case. Huh. No, it's still yelling at me. So it's almost like it's not picking up this provides. Credentials, login result is injected at. Um, I'm assuming this did a clean already. Let's try clean build from the command line. And if this doesn't work, I'm giving up because it's not that important. But I'm glad we looked into it. That's part of the fun of these streams. While it's running, let's. Yeah, I noticed that super and extends, but I don't think we need that. Oh, we've got, well, the Hilt compiler has a new patch version. Um, But anyways, our pull request passed, so let's go ahead and merge all that real quick. Come on. Yeah, there's probably something we can do, but if it's not working out of the box, I feel like I don't. Um, did it work? Because detect yelled at me, but nothing else did. Can I run it? Um, it's fine if the detect library yells at me, but I don't want. Hmm. Nope. Okay, it still doesn't work. All right, I'm giving up for now. But that was an interesting deep dive, and maybe I'll spend some other time trying to figure out what the hell went wrong there. Um, but I'm giving up. So that's the other thing, right? Like we avoid like 10 lines of boilerplate. Like we reduce the need for an interface and we have a one-line type alias. And then we remove like the whole implementation class, but effectively it's the same code because we're just calling one function. We basically remove the class definition. So I kind of see it. Um, yeah, like it's nice for some people complain about useless use cases where like unlike our use case where we are like calling a whole bunch of stuff, um, unlike this. Um, but in the use case where I maybe make like a one-to-one call and I basically say like return what the repository returned, um, I feel like that's where functions can look nice, but you miss on polymorphism. I mean, that's fair. Uh, if you are using polymorphism with use cases, which I don't know how many people are doing that, but it's possible. Um, but speaking of use cases, why don't we write one for um, fetching tasks? So if we look at our projects here, that was one of our tickets to work on. I'm going to mark both of these as done, even though they're kind of ongoing. But we had one for implement get tasks use case. Um, a poll in the chat. Would you call this get tasks use case or would you call it fetch tasks use case? I'm just curious. Because I see this debate a lot, and on one hand, like I kind of like fetch, um, but I've seen both approaches. Um, So, right, fetch makes sense to me as well because you're like fetching from whatever. Um, so let's put a new package here, domain dot use cases. Right. Um, Here you go, Megan. The smoothie is delicious. Thank you. Um, all right, so we're gonna have more debates on naming. I'm ready for it. Well, so what would you call the use case? Do we want to call it, we have to do a cube solve? We can, oh, nice. The poll can run while we do this. Let's, Let's get our cube solve on. I've been practicing. I've been practicing with this a little bit. Okay. All right. Well, I'm just gonna do a little self scramble here. I know I usually follow the scramble on the website. I got it. I got the prediction. I'm ready. Let's do. Um, what are we gonna set our over under at this time? Let's do 25 seconds. I I mean, we could. Like if some of you have like faith in me. Um no, we'll do 27.5 again. Um uh Start prediction. Did it work? Okay, cool. So y'all should have 2 minutes to vote. Um uh CubeTimer.com. For 37.5. Oh, did I make a typo? Oh my god, I made a typo. Yes, it's 27. um, yeah, yeah, Matt's right. Um And if you're interested in sort of some guessing here, so my average on the last few streams has been 30.94, but our best has been 22. And the last 3 of 5 average is just over 27 seconds. So, this one could go either way. 22, what a beast. Oh, I'm ready. I'm ready to sweat. Um, I'll just wait for the 2 seconds to be up. Dang, y'all have a lot of channel points. And someone's about to make me wear Captain America if they win. Although just to be somewhat serious, I do have to stop streaming in like 40 minutes. So I would be careful if any of you were thinking about redeeming that. And I would save it for the start of next week. Um, oh, I will not be streaming next week because next week is a holiday here in the States and I won't be home on Wednesday. So just a heads up. It's going to be that time of year where, unfortunately, with like a lot of the fall and winter holidays, I may not be around as much. Um, I will try to still stream once a week, even if it's not always on Wednesday. But next week, unfortunately, I won't have time. Okay, the prediction's up. Let us see what we can do. I haven't even looked at this yet, so I'm going to do that first. Um, okay. I have no idea how this is going to go. I say I've been practicing, but we'll see. Oh, dang, that's not even close to 27. Oh, I'm upset. That was not good. That was not good. Ah, uh, choose prediction. So, well, I mean, technically none of you were wrong because I screwed up my thing. Um, choose outcome. So greater than one. All your channel points, dang. But you know what? That's actually a pretty good payout. Y'all had so much faith in me. I had faith in me. I kind of want to do one more just for fun. Let's do one more just for fun while I have this open. Because I want to beat 30. I'm upset about that. Oh my god, plus 7,000. Holy crap. Okay. There's no prediction for this one. I just want to show off and see if I can get under 30. I think I need to turn on the lights when I do this because I just have a really hard time seeing some of the things when I do it in the dark like this. Yeah, I can't see in the dark here. I keep messing up. All right, we're gonna. I need a data point. I need I need I have what's the word? Need for speed. That's what I was trying to say. Do we want to do another prediction? We can do one for fun. Um, should we do 27 again though? Or should we hmm. I need to drink more. Um, we can do 30 seconds again. I feel like we should um let's go for 30 seconds because that's what I want. I want to get under 30 I want to get under 30 seconds. So we're doing another prediction. Should I do a no timer practice while I wait? Cheers, Prince. Almost done with our smoothie. Delicious. Prince. So the maximum bet you can make on a Twitch prediction, if you're curious, is 250,000 channel points. And one time I had enough and I bet it on the underdog of a Rocket League match and they won. And at one point I had over 1 million channel points in the Rocket League Twitch channel. I'm now down to like 400 grand because I gambled and lost it all. But I literally had over 1 million channel points in the Rocket League stream. It was nuts. I watch a lot of Rocket League, okay? And I won a few predictions along the way. Let's see. Let's look right now just for fun. I'm just gonna pull it up via this thing. Hopefully, Rocket League's not live, or you're gonna hear it. Um, they're not. Will it tell me how many points I have? Yeah, I currently have 440,000 channel points in the official Rocket League stream. Okay, I'm nervous, but the lights are on. I can see my colors better. Um, we're going for something fast here. Oh, oh, oh! This was so much better. Holy crap! Oh, I am speed. I told y'all you could have faith in me. All right, next time I do uh cube challenges. I'm gonna turn on the light so I can actually see what's going on here. Oh my god, that bet was 50-50. We're getting hustled. Oh my god, that was great. I can't remember the last time I was ever under 20 seconds though, and I was really close. What the fuck is that emoji? Oh, that's XQC. Oh my god. I suppose I can just keep my light on. There's no reason I need to be a pleb who sits here and codes in the dark all the time. Alright, thanks for the redemption, whoever that was. 2 for 1 on cube solves. Um, but see, I hate that I'm like so wildly inconsistent. I shaved off 18 seconds from the previous solve. Like, that is wildly inconsistent. Um, where were we? Lights are a cheat code. Yeah, honestly, you all did get hustled. This is more like me. I wanted to learn it blindfolded. I also used to try like doing it one-handed, but I just like the problem is so many of my algorithms are like muscle memory. So like to do them one-handed, I like don't remember. Or if someone's like, "Oh, how do you do like this step?" It's like I don't know, you just do it. Um I used to just be so much faster because this was how I like fidgeted at work and stuff. It's just like always spinning, doing something. Oh, no light IDE. I just meant like keeping the lights on in the room. Um, oh, I thought track this message. I understand now. Um, all right. So, can I see? All right. Matt, I can't see the results. What does chat think between get versus fetch? Was there like an official result to that poll? And why can't I see it anywhere? Did the poll get moved because I ran a prediction? Get wins 3-1. All right. So, I'm fine with that for the use case, but if we ever add like a remote repository, I'm definitely calling it fetch. Streamer's choice. So, okay, let's do get tasks use case. So this will be an interface, get tasks use case. Let's keep going, even though we talked about whether or not we actually want this. Um, uh, Having a nice stream, Benny. Thanks for stopping by. We've got 30 minutes left, by the way, so let's see what we can get done in 30 minutes. So this will just return, aha. No, we talked about this before, is that our use cases should have some sort of result class associated with them. So, well, actually, didn't we make a result class? We did. Nice. Okay, so we'll have this return a result list task. And actually, this should be our result class. And I think for the use case, that's all we need. Assuming that we're not like filtering or whatever, there should be no parameter here. I just want to fetch the tasks for the signed in user. So I shouldn't need to give it anything. Now we can build our use case. Let's do I'm trying to think if I want to do the same thing as the login version where we also have like a repository that the tasks need to be pulled from. So like should we make like a Oh, I thought about renaming this as well. So another naming convention debate. Uh, I think I've changed things on this. So I used to like this convention where like you had an interface of a repository where data comes from, and then you have like the implementation. I used to call this service, but I think I've kind of seen the light in that like that's confusing when the interface and the implementation have like different naming conventions. So would we call this like demo login repository? Is that like a better name here? Um, that was a random thought, but I feel like that is a better name. Um, there was also an article they sent me. I'll have to go find it later. But a coworker pointing out like the difference between a repository and a service, and I'll be honest, I didn't 100% get it, but something else. Okay. But then okay, but with that, like let's do repository class here as well. So let's make a new package in here, repository. And let's have a, do we want to call it a task repository, task list repository? Let's do that, task list repository. Um, and then let's do fetch all tasks. I add, um, this can also be a result list task, I think. Yeah, this is all we would need for now. We'll probably add something else, like maybe we want to fetch like incomplete tasks or fetch like tasks by day. Those could go in here, but here we'll start with just fetch all tasks. So now we can make our use case implementation. I'm going to use the same naming convention we used up here, where instead of the impl suffix, we could prefix with like prod something. I think that's where service can work. Um, like I think what you described makes sense. Um, but then I don't. So riddle me this. Like I've seen people talk about a repository specifically is like when you're combining data sources, say like a remote and a local version. But let's say my app doesn't do that. Let's say I only talk to the network. So, like, let's imagine this was talking to the network. So I have this task list repository. And let's say I want to make a class that like calls a retrofit API. Would I call it retrofit task list repository? Or should it be retrofit task list service? And I guess it's just like I don't know if there's a right or wrong answer, but um, but anyways, I'm going to stick with the convention we used before, um, which is debatable, but let's do prod get tasks use case. Um, but okay, but can a service inherit from a repository interface, Matt? I guess you could. And but that's the question is then should my interface be so then would the interface be also service? And like if the repository and the service are the same, do you have two interfaces that are almost identical in nature? Let's hold on. Do I have the project open? Or do I have it on this? Okay, let's, if you can humor me, let's look at a project of mine. um, where I did something like this. I would not put it in a repository layer if there was no mediation between disparate sources. Okay, so then let me show y'all something I did on a project, and you can tell me how you might rename this. So this was my sample app of trying to play with the Liquipedia API for like showing like Rocket League stats and results and stuff. Um, but let's dive into something I did here. So one screen that's implemented is like team list. Okay. And you're right. You're right. Like there's that data mapping. But okay, so wait, did I do it differently here? Oh, I see. Okay, so let me show you how I did it here, which I think you're going to tell me is the right way. So inside my data package, I made this team list service that has this function fetch all teams. And then so inside my remote package, I have Liquipedia team list service, which implements that interface, and like it has a dependency on the retrofit API here, Liquipedia retrofit API. And then it does all the like XML or HTML parsing that it has to do. But here, so the interface and the implementation are both called a service. And then so to learning to code's point, actually, if we then go back to like the domain layer for use cases, and we have all this fetch all teams use case, yes, the use case depends right on the service. So actually going back, y'all are saying this is how you would build it. This is like the right naming convention here, that there's nothing called a repository because there's no like combination of data sources. Uh, And then, like, to Matt's more specific point about the somewhat mediation, I think that's fine for the service layer. This is my opinion. For the service layer to do some of that, for example, this service, actually, if we look at the service implementation, it returns a domain model. So I'm saying the service is responsible for taking the server DTO and converting it into the domain model. But I suppose it could go a step further to say, like, hey, the service should return a DTO and a repository does the mapping, but I don't like that. And the reason I don't necessarily like that is because, like, not all DTOs are the same, if that makes sense. Like here, like if I'm using Liquipedia's API, that returns stuff in a certain format. But if, let's say, Psionics ever makes their own public API, they could return it in a different JSON format. And to me, I shouldn't have to change my service layer implementation. Or I shouldn't have to change my service layer definition, but rather I would just make a new implementation. So yeah, I think it makes sense that this service would return that. Um, how do I handle rotation in this implementation? I don't know if I do. Um, but to me, that's like the benefit of like the Android ViewModel, right? Um, I don't know about the Octotree plugin. Um, so if you're using an architecture component view model, Matt, it depends on how you manage state. But like if you make the call when the view model is initialized, which is what I usually do, then no, it won't make a new call because it's not reinitializing the view model. That's typically how it works. Um, the plugin is called Octotree. I'll look that up. I've never used it. Um, okay, but then having this long conversation, then, um, well, let's talk about this. So then it sounds like we're suggesting that sorry, I just want to get rid of the red lines. So it sounds like we're suggesting that everywhere I use the word repository in this project, I probably shouldn't have used. The repo. has a state flow. Interesting. I mean, that's kind of what we do here. So, well, kind of with like use cases, but um, we have a thing that's injected to the VM. The VM calls that thing to do stuff. Yeah, that's what I don't know. That's what I'm confused about. Like, is the repo actually managing any state, or is the repo just emitting stuff and the view model is converting that into state? Because that's how I think it should be done. I don't think your repo is a state management container. Your repo is just fetch data. And actually, the VM is where you would um, decide like, hey, do I need to recall or something like that? Right. Does that have to be a state flow? Why not just a normal flow? Um, I'm just curious why that. Um, but all that to be said, like I don't know if I should be calling these things like demo repository and login repository, or if these should actually be renamed to service. Um, I think I'll leave them at repository for now. Uh, because maybe one day there is some sort of mediation that happens in this project. Um, and I think it's fine to call it like a demo repository because that's what it is. And then we could make like actual service implementations when we're actually doing like database services or remote services. But I also only have like 15 minutes, so I kind of want to finish stubbing out this get tasks use case stuff, and at least build like a sample uh, fetch tasks flow. So let's. I'm just gonna keep going. Um, so we made our repository. Um, we made our use case, the prod get task use case. Um, here we'll say, I think here we can basically just proxy. I'm gonna rename this to get all tasks use case. Um, and okay, let's make our demo one real quick. Because we're going to use hilt, even though there's no parameters here, we still need the @inject constructor. This implements task list repository. And so what I'm going to do in ours is I'm going to just add like a hard-coded delay, um, just to like simulate loading when we go to try this. And somewhere in like task list, I already made like some dummy code for generating tasks. So I'm gonna do that again. Result that success tasks. Okay, so we have all this code hooked up. Our view model needs that um, use case. This is going to be a hilt view model, and then inject constructor. Um, and then so in our init here, this is where we can do view model scope launch. And we're gonna fetch our task. So tasks result will be get all task use case, and then when get task result. So if this is result dot success, whoops, this is not what we get. If we're success, well, here we're going to do a new view state. View state that value. So here we'll do task list view state dot loaded tasks equals get task result dot data, and then if it's error, we're going to do task list view state dot error. Is that not what it's called? Oh, and then I give it an error message. UI text dot string text. Something went wrong. We're just gonna hard code that for now. Why is this yelling at me? Ah, because the compiler is confused and thinks that this is specifically loading when I need to say this is a task list view state. Have a good night learning to code. I'll be wrapping up soon as well, so save your points for the start of next time. But okay, here we get tasks, we set the results, and if it's successful, we set task state.loaded. If it's not, we do task state.error. So we have some DI work that needs to be updated here. In this one, we need to do bind task list repository. And this will be demo task list repository. And then also over in our use case module, we're going to need to do the same thing. Bind get all tasks use case. And this will be prod get all tasks use case. And I think that's it. So let's run this. And what we're hoping to see is, well, this is running the old version, but we're hoping that we see the loading spinner for a little bit, and then we see a list of tasks. That's the hope anyways. So we're just gonna have to wait. And then, yeah, I'll wrap this up and we'll get out of here. I had to do a short stream tonight. Although it's crazy that I've gone back to thinking like 2 hours is a short stream because we had a few weeks of doing like 4 or 5 hour coding streams, which was awesome. And when life is a little less hectic, I would love to go back to that. Aha, we got an error. Prod get all task use case cannot be injected. Okay, that's my fault. Because we need to annotate this. Try that again. And then also, maybe just for fun, because I never get tired of looking at it, but maybe once we know this works, we can also change our background again. And I never get tired of being amazed at Google's dynamic theming. Um, so we'll just see. Aha, so this is building. So there was a hard-coded delay, so this might take a couple seconds. Ah, but now we have our tests. Oh, it's nice that we have, I forgot we did this. Oh. All right, well, we've got a little bit of a edge-to-edge UI bug here. Um, have I tried a live wallpaper yet with theming? I have not. Um, but let's open up backdrops. Go to our favorites, and let's add that blue background again. Yeah, there's a lot of empty state and like big buttons, but they've grown on me. Like I don't, I also have a big phone, so I might have like, you know, a different perspective, but ooh, that looks really nice. Um, I wonder, so an interesting thought, just, okay, I'm gonna call this working, by the way. Um, um, let's do this. Let's add that. Also, stream history. We include this. So, um, actually, wait, maybe it's not, maybe this can be really quick. Because I think we have accompanist insets in the project. So, um, yeah, the blue is really nice. And I think this is actually not too far off what the actual color palette of the app is. So let's actually look at that real quick while we're here, just for fun. Um, so I'm going to comment out these dynamic lines so we can see what our actual color palette looks like for non-Android 12 users. Um, oh wow, that's almost identical. That really is like almost identical. Like, am I sure that I changed it? I'm pretty sure. That's really funny. Um, hold on. I need to make sure I'm not going crazy. I was looking for something. Let's do red. Yeah, okay. My background has changed, but the app is still blue. All right, that's really funny. We are almost the same. Um, but I think with this, so let's look at where that's at real quick. Inside our task list content, um, we have this loaded task content where we set this scaffold and we've got some padding values. But here, so we can leverage the accompanist um, modifier for status bars padding. Oh, do I want this? No, not here. I want this on the toolbar. So the toolbar should have padding above everything for um, the status bar. So I think here I want to do status bars padding. Let's try that out. That might be all it is. I know that's the modifier we want. The question is whether or not that was the right place to put it. And I think the answer to that is yes. Nice. Kind of. Um, well, the height stayed the same, and I don't think that's quite what I wanted. So hold on. So we put the height on the row. Can I mean, if I put the padding here, I guess I could put it on the surface. Maybe that's what I should have done. Let's try that. So if we put it on the surface instead of on like the individual row, maybe that'll do it for us. Okay, that technically did it, but it didn't keep this blue bar. It kept the surface color above it. Huh. So, but why? it so the color was correct before when I did it like this, but um but notice this. So you see how the text is centered within the blue square? So watch this. The text gets shoved down because I'm basically putting the padding like above the text. Um, so, or wait, am I crazy? The first time I ran it, the text was like on this bottom line. Um, we could set the status bar color directly, but I don't necessarily want to do that. I want it to just extend. Yeah, so I could check the VOD. I'm 99% sure when I ran this the first time, the text was like at this bottom line, and I thought that everything was wrong. But now it's looking good. Um, so look at that beautiful edge to edge. I think another thing is I think our floating action button, as a result, is like a little closer to the bottom than it should be, because it's like right next to the navigation controls. And I think a way we could fix that is how can I do that? Actually, maybe that's covered automatically. Oh, well, I'm using the Material 3 scaffold, not the accompanist scaffold. So I'm just looking to see like how they um all right, no, I'm going way too deep. Um yeah, okay. I'm glad you saw it too, so I'm not going entirely crazy. Um why did this yell at me? Oh, this yelled at me because of the magic number. So I'm gonna suppress that for a moment because I want to keep this in here for more testing. Um and also let's go back to our theme and let's go back to including dynamic themes. Let's commit this real quick. So what did I actually change here? Oh, edge to edge UI. And now for kicks and giggles, one last run, we can see how this looks with our red wallpaper too. Um, as much as I love like the dynamic theming, and I would definitely like if we ever get to a point where we're actually shipping this product, I would love to support it. I might um I might keep it off while I'm testing so that I can see how it looks with our actual color palette. Because one thing I'm worried about is like if I'm supporting Material 3 and I'm always looking at it in Material 3, and then I ship it, and like what happens if it looks terrible on an old phone and I just never paid attention? Um, but this is the reddish version. Um, Still looks pretty nice. So yeah, I think this Material 3 stuff is really cool. Um, I would love to eventually, but like I know that spending like 2 hours a week on it means that's a very long time before it's even like usable. But that would be cool one day. Um, I also really love I do like the little spring animations. Um, oh, I also like I didn't realize that these buttons were like pill shaped. So see that nice like ripple there? Hmm. Okay, but it is 8:30 Eastern, so I do have to run. Thank you all for coming to hang out. Let me take a look and see if there are any other science and tech streamers who are live right now that we could raid. Um, and it doesn't look like anyone I follow is, just some Rocket League people. So, yeah. Um, how to find inspiration ideas to make an app, maybe where I can get an API that I can use and the UI sample. That's hard. Like it's hard to come up with inspiration. I definitely get that. Couple quick comments I could give you. Uh, Obviously the first suggestion I would want to give you is like build something that you want to build. Um, but that's hard. Like maybe there's not an app that you want. So some things that I do is like there's a website, Dribble, I think, with three B's. Nope. Or maybe it's not IO. Or wasn't it? Was it bot? Oh, it is. Dribble.com. Is this the one? You can see like some designs here to like get some good stuff. What was the other one? There was like Material Up. or something. Oh, which is now called UpLabs. But this is another cool website that has like all sorts of like trending designs. And you can even do like a search in here. So if I wanted to see like finance apps, I can see like a bunch of dashboards. Some are premium, you have to pay to like really see designs. And if you pay, you can get like Figma designs or Sketch or some tool like that. Yeah, Dribble has some really cool finance app designs in here. Um, so that's or an UpLabs even. So that's like one thing you could do. And then another one is like I Googled this one time. I just Googled for like public APIs, and there was a yes, there's a GitHub collection here. Let me share this with y'all. But some amazing community folks curate this long list of all sorts of public APIs, and they're indexed by category. So you could even like read through categories, and I'm hoping like I don't know. Let's say you are like into I want to pick something that's not super obvious, I guess, like games and comics. It's all right, trash can. I'll do it in a second. Um, then we can see, like, here's a bunch of stuff. So, chess.com has an API. So, like, maybe you want to make an app showing chess statistics, or like a deck of cards API. Like, so I think I posted that in chat. I did. So, like, you can also just browse this, find an API that stands out, and then you can do it. Always love the Pokemon API. PokeAPI.co. Not that I like have that memorized or anything, and not that I don't already know that they have a beta GraphQL API that I haven't tried yet, but it's on my to-do list. What nerd? Yes. Um, the real reason I'm not streaming next week is because starting Friday, I'm just gonna grind Pokemon Shining Pearl until I'm done. I'm just gonna go into a hole on Friday and we're not resurfacing until I'm done. Um, but I owe Trashka to Cube Solve, and then I do have to go because I'm already over time. No, I someone redeemed a Cube Solve. I have to give people what they want. Um, we're gonna do another prediction, and this time we're gonna do 27 and a half seconds again because y'all saw me absolutely crush it earlier. All right, you have 2 minutes to try to get some last minute soft stuff. Ooh, I already have also this one was almost complete. Let me finish this one from earlier. Um, I'll fix my camera in a second. This was like almost solved from earlier. Now I want to like complete it so we start fresh. Okay. Have a good night, CP. Also, I don't even know if Trashkit is still here, but it's fine. Um, Trashkit, you missed me do it in 21.42 seconds earlier today. Absolute madman speed. All right. We've got a minute left on the prediction. You went all in. Oof. All in on over. Ooh. You know what? That's fair. I'm um, that's 50-50. All right, let's take a look while that's running. Let's see what we're gonna do here. Hmm. This one might be a tough one. I might just start when the prediction's at like 10 seconds. Um, nah, we can wait 10 seconds. We'll start it up. All right, let's do this. Hoping for the best here. Oh, no, that wasn't right. Oh my god, I was gonna crush it. Oh, I was gonna be under 20 seconds if I didn't mess up. I can't believe I made a mistake and still hit 25.64 seconds. Oh my god. Oh, I'm so mad. Alright, let's find choose prediction. The believers win. It's amazing what happens now that I keep my lights on and I can actually see what's happening. Are you rich now, Matt? Alright, now I'm even just gonna leave my camera here or whatever. Well, now we're gonna get out of here. But thank you all for coming by. Let me check again, see if there's anyone who came online that I could go raid. No, it looks like it's all the same people. Always betting low. Well, now I'm consistent. Now I've got like, I'm 2 for 2 now that I've like turned on these lights and I can actually see what I'm doing. Um, but I'm gonna run. Thank you all for coming by. Hope you all have a lovely Wednesday, and I'll see you again in 2 weeks.